Hi. I thought I would do a topic here since I never do that. I just ramble around, and that is typical for Vata when it comes to Ayurveda. I will, before someone comes in, maybe, and then I will pick some cards if someone comes in. Otherwise, I will actually do a topic. And I will try to shoot straight, I almost said, but keep to the topic. I think I have to take off I have sunglasses indoors. I was so sensitive to one mascara I had, so I were like, well, anyway, see, I drift immediately. Now I will just start with Ayurveda. I'm an Ayurveda therapist or Ayurveda health counselor. And I don't do that mainly, but I do that sometimes, and I love it. It's a vast. I mean, it's immense. It's without an end. That's like all the topics that I do and that I love. They are so great. They are so. There is no end to what you can learn, but you benefit from learning something about it. So I wanted to tell a little bit about this, since some people don't even know. They just know the word, which means also science of life, or the knowledge of life, I guess you could also say. And it aims to create harmony as far as possible. Let's see if there is something forgotten here. Oh, I just have to. I will start at the beginning, so I had some notes. I forgot the notes. Apparently, no, okay, never mind. So yeah, first of all, there is sometimes symbolic stories also about how creation came to be and so on, but I will start there. And air is the element that moves things. So movement is very important, and me having a lot of vata, which can be detected immediately in the way I speak and everything. But yeah, the voice though, and the sound, I guess, is more so kapha, which I also have a lot of, not so much of pitta. And I'm coming to that. These are just words to some of you, so I will get to that. And this is just the surface. So if you have questions, please feel free to ask, and I may try to answer them. And otherwise, I can ask my friendly experts around also that have a deeper and more knowledge than I in this field. Anyways, so how it's told is that pure consciousness wanted to become more, or became more, and started to move. And then there was some cosmic vibrations, which led to ether. And the movement of ether, or led to air, I guess you could say. And then when they met, that created fire, which also, air is not just the air itself, it's what air does, and that is the same in the doshas, which I get to. But that created fire, or also heat and light, you can say, which it is, and that in those combinations led to water, which hold everything together, and then to earth, which is matter then. And from earth, earth, it's seen as gave birth to every other form of matter, and also creatures with consciousness and substances with no consciousness. But yeah, it depends on how you define consciousness then. But in this particular thing, that meant that creatures with consciousness would be humans, animals, and plants then. So And from these 5 elements that is called also Mahabhutas came also, there are correspondences or correlations, or what you should say, with also the 5 senses. So sound is connected to ether, which sound is transmitted through, and air is related to the nervous system, which corresponds through touch. And fire, we see light and color and so on, is related to sight. And water, which is necessary to taste. A dry tongue cannot distinguish flavors. And earth is connected to the sense of smell. The nose is also related to the excretory organs. People with constipation often have bad breath and a diminished sense of smell, for example. And this is, what is that word? Holistic way of viewing things. So everything is always in Ayurveda tied up with everything else. There is a connection with everything else. So, and there is harmony and synchronicity. And if it is disharmony, that is what creates illness then. So what we do in Ayurveda is to try to create harmony. As far as we can. And by the way, to be neurotic and perfectionist, that in itself is now some of these Ayurvedic people are writing on Facebook anyway. I will get into that later, I think. But anyway, so yeah, to be too perfectionistic in this is also seen as a disharmony or imbalance. It's not like rules, it's fluid. And the aim, the actually main aim, I would say, that I think of, that it is, and maybe someone have other ideas, is to know ourselves, to know who we are. And when we get to know that more and more, we will know in ourselves what we need. Anyway, and in some cases, in Western or other ways of viewing it, some things are like only in the mind, for example, and that is not how Ayurveda sees it, since everything is related or connected. So we react different, even the mind, and that is kind of obvious to everyone. I do think so now, with all kind of labels for people. And if we would look at how much sugars or whatever people eat, that is not like so surprising maybe sometimes. But it could be the other way around also, that we medicate ourselves or numb ourselves with certain things we eat. But anyway, so we also react different to what we eat depending on our constitution, or prakruti as it is called, meaning the doshas that the balance of the doshas that we have to begin with, which is our natural harmony, our natural balance that we are born with and which never changes. So, and that you can feel in the deepest pulse if you are educated in Ayurveda. So, once we regain dosha balance, we often can tolerate things that we may have been sensitive to or have intolerance against or allergies against. And that was one thing I thought about when some people talked about those pollen now here. So, and sometimes it's the question of who are we allergic to, so to speak. But anyway, so marma puncture or pressure is one way to balance the doshas as well, from which acupuncture later stem. In marma, which that came from India and was spread through to India later, and so We use different fingers for the different doshas and also specific oils for specific areas of imbalance and so on, and also different points, of course, that we work on depending on the dosha. And marma pressure is working mildly but efficiently to restore balance. And we also work on the subtle body as well, or you can say in between the spirit and body. I hope someone not protest my way of describing it, but yeah, no. It's not a deep physical massage, although you massage these points of marma points. Anyways, so one thing that is also seen as something that could lead to illness is suppressing emotions or bodily functions too. And we balance the system of these systems when we allow them to take their proper place. And that is something I think goes on very much in our society, especially maybe emotionally, but other things as well. For example, urination, defecation. Do you say that? Yeah, I think it is maybe pronounce it that way, especially pooping, let's say. That's most important. And ejaculation as well of sperm and breaking wind, vomiting, yawning, satisfying hunger, thirst, shedding tears, sleep, heavy breathing after exercise. These are things that should not be suppressed according to Ayurveda. And we also work with the chakras. I jump in between things here, but I just want to touch on to the surface of it. And the Kundalini, which is the universal energy, how that moves from the lowest to the highest chakra to promote spirituality and divine knowledge also. And I'm also training to become a Kundalini yoga teacher, which I am distracted somewhat with other things that I love, but I also love that. But anyway, and that is part of Ayurveda. You could say yoga is a part of Ayurveda. So the chakras, for someone who have not heard about what it is, maybe, or even, I will mention the 7 chakras that are the way they are seen from in most yogic practices, I would say, or think. The first one is Muladhara, which is the lowest between the genitals and the anus. And the second one is Svadhisthana. It's in the sacral region. And then Manipura is solar plexus. And maybe these words are also, there are English and Swedish words for these as well, of course. But yeah, anyways, you can Google this easily to see where it is also. But the fourth is Anahata. It's in the spine at the heart level. And the fifth is Vishuddha. It's in the neck. And then the sixth is Ajna. It's in the forehead between the eyebrows, or so-called third eye. And then there is Sahasrara, which is just above the head and therefore does not have a physical position. And they have no physical manifestation in the sense that they cannot be located by scientific instruments and have tended to be viewed with skepticism by Western doctors and so. But similar as the meridians and energy point in Marma or acupuncture, but they have been sensed intuitively by many people over many centuries, and they can be clearly sensed if you practice even with your hands. You can feel the energy very clearly. So, and that is very common now. I think it's more and more common because more people work with these things and are aware of that, the energy body that we also have. So And some people in yoga or meditation have felt this Kundalini energy rise from the base of the spine and emerging through the top of the head. And there are, I mean, this doesn't have to be in an Ayurveda setting even, or in yoga. It can be other practices in other traditions that also can release this this potential of energy, let's say, that we have. And some people believe that it's sexual desire that is sublimated, that turns into spiritual non-physical expression then. For those who have experienced it, to achieve bliss through meditation or some practice of that sort, have described it more ecstatic than the most satisfying sexual experience. And both yoga and meditation techniques are designed to activate this Kundalini energy and bring it into balance. And that is also about our evolution. Yeah. To become more aware of who we are, as I said from the beginning. More of who we are. So allowing this powerful energy center to remain clear and or become clear and unblocked is a highly efficient form of preventive medicine as well. So, and this can be achieved by meditation, yoga, chakra massage, which I also do. Hey, someone is in here. You can ask something if you want, and I will just talk a little bit about Ayurveda, and then if you want to ask about some tarot card or whatever you want to ask about, that's fine. Or comment something. Yeah, I also do chakra massage and marma pressure, and there is also marma puncture, as I said. Yeah. And the chakras, then they are energy centers located along the midline of the body and related to the three mahamarmas or the main marmas, which then receive energy generated by the chakras and disturb them into the other 107 points in the body. And shall I say something more about that? I will jump to the general teachings about diet in Ayurveda. Which is that it also says that appetite and digestive function and so on vary according to the season. So, for example, a diet that is suitable in the summer would be unsuitable for winter, especially then if the climate is more varied. And the wrong diets, obviously, at least obviously in Ayurveda, creates this imbalance in doshas, which then increases the risk for illness. And when we are educated in reading the pulse and the wholeness, we do read. I mean, it's holistic, as I said, so we check other things in the body as well. Noor, hi. I would like to know more about chakras. I got always captivated by this topic, Ayurveda. Oh, nice. Okay. I can go into that more. I will just first briefly go into the Ayurveda stuff, and I can do something about more so only about the chakras to come as well if you want to. Cool. Yeah, and this chakra flow massage that I also do, then you work very much with that. But anyway, I will just move on with this first. Yeah, when we are educated in this, we can feel it in the pulse, and as I said, we read the wholeness of the person. We read other things than just the pulse, but we can feel it, the imbalance in the doshas with our fingers on the pulse, let's say. So we can detect imbalances before they go so deep into the body that they create illness, and then correct them much easier at that point in time. So and it can also have influence actually where we were born. And there are also different dietary or lifestyle guidelines for spring, as I said, for diets, but also like other lifestyle guidelines. They vary when it comes to spring, summer, autumn, and winter, of course. And it's not the same all year because we need different things. Because we are obviously it's part of nature. We are influenced by what goes on in nature. And that is for all doshas then. But then also it varies depending on our specific personal individual balance of the doshas to begin with also, or imbalance sometimes. Yeah. So, and causes to disease can be triggered by many things. For example, the spirit world, or poisons, toxins, environmental pollution, fire, accidents, planetary influence like astrology. I mean, not by astrology, but as they can, some astrologers can read that, and the ones, the Ayurvedic astrologers, they actually follow the planets, which sometimes in the Western is. But I think that's fantastic and fascinating too. Eventually, I was like hesitant about that because since they started that, have changed where the planets are, for example, when someone is born. So I thought it wouldn't be accurate, but it's super accurate anyway. So whatever. But anyways, also acts of the divine like earthquakes, volcanoes, hurricanes, etc. But aside from these, there are two other categories, which is the first one that would create illness then or disease is imbalance of the doshas. And I come to the doshas more about what that is. I should have started there maybe even. And the other one is mental imbalance, which also is a whole topic in Ayurveda as well. But the treatment to these things that may occur from an imbalance is also related to the season and even can change from year to year then if you go into more specific like astrological things and so. The doshas then, maybe I should have said this first. They are, you could say, bodily energies, bioenergies, which influence all living matter and mental energies too. And most of us are a combination of two or all three of these types with one predominant. For example, and that is quite clear when I speak in these videos, for example, and I think both of my doshas are pretty clear. I'm a Vata Kapha, and Vata very much mentally, and Kapha more so physically. But I also have a solidness in my mind, so to speak. So, and the psychic thing also is a Vata thing. Yeah, and Vata is the lightest, and in Ayurveda it's portrayed as blue color, and I will get to more about this. And Pitta is more in between, you could say, Kapha and Vata, medium sort of, and portrayed as red, and Kapha is the heaviest and portrayed as yellow. And Kapha, no, I'll start with Vata again. Vata is thin, restless, and creative. And this goes also for the mind, obviously creative also in the mind, but yeah, there are different descriptions of the mindset as well. But anyway, Pitta is, as I said, pretty much in between, but that is the fire energy. So they are more competitive and yeah, and also sometimes more clear. And Kapha is heavy, slow, and lethargic sometimes. And Ayurveda teaches that everything in the world is made up by a combination of these three doshas. And the doshas themselves, they are a combination of two of the fire, no, not the fire, the five elements. So Vata is made up by ether and air, and Pitta is fire mainly, but a bit water, and Kapha is water and earth. And you think of it more so like the qualities of these elements rather than the exact elements, what they do, how they function, kind of thing. So when it comes to what type you are of these, when it comes to your Prakruti, which is your basic nature, you could say, that never changes in this lifetime, which you are born with it, that need probably someone who are educated in Ayurveda to feel that deep pulse. Because you can, if you do those self-tests or so on, you can see where you are at now, and actually you can also see what you need for some balance. but you won't maybe detect if it's what you see, if it's an imbalance or if it's your natural, so to speak, state. We are different. Each one have different variations of these. We shouldn't have like equal amount of vata and pitta and kapha. That is not the goal. We should reach our own natural prakriti, what we are healthiest with, what balance is the most the most happy balance for our specific person, individual. So yeah, and there are also these are also connected to age. There is most kapha up till from we are born until we are 20 or something, and pitta from 20 to 50, the fire energy, the ambitious, that kind of energy, and vata more so from 50 and up. And some problems are more related to one of these doshas, which is kind of obvious, and also to different areas of the body. It may not sound very obvious when I say it like this, but yeah, if you get deeper into this, or those who like to learn it, in Luleå, my friend Therese have this center where she teaches this also for those who are interested in learning, and it should be, it is very much needed in society. People should know more about this, and as well as these methods are very mild in the sense that there are no residues or medicine like toxins like that, but also even in the herbal medicine that is connected to sometimes in Ayurveda, but also it's very cheap. As many things is something that we naturally find in the store or in nature and so on that we can use. So it's and that's why probably it's not so promoted also. Those companies won't gain much money from that. So anyway, so there are typical advice for example, someone with vata dominance as myself, as well as those with a vata imbalance as well. So I can go into this deeper another day, and as you mentioned, the chakras, I can do that too. I have some video on some other channel actually about the chakras. I maybe should find that and put a link to it, but then I don't know if I want to mix these channels. But anyway, and also when it comes to diet, which that is central, the digestive system and everything that we are built up from. So that's really important in Ayurveda that these function well, so that we don't build up toxins in the body, of course. But generally, Ayurveda recommend vegetarian diet, but in some cases it could be good with meat or different things that have sudden effects of the body. So then it can be recommended, for example, eggs increase lung capacity and sperm count and reduce the risk of heart disease and also the incidence of ulcers, for one. And there are many. Ayurveda is not like this is the only thing and everyone should do like this and that. It depends so totally on where we are at and so on. And also pollution and stuff like that influence all of this, of course. So to eat natural organic food obviously is what is recommended. Anyway, also when it comes to suppressing feelings, as I said, that could also be a cause, and thoughts, not the least. It's good to get that out. For example, write it down and speak like I do. I vent here sometimes. And there are many different advices when it comes to also this time of the day, not only the season, but also the day and night, and how to sleep and to sleep, and rather sleep on the side than on the back or the front, for example, and so on. But also connected to what times of the day nature is more so supporting sleep or wakefulness and so on. And in Ayurveda, there is also some focus on longevity to live long, healthy, happy lives. And also, what health is in Ayurveda is considered way different than in our Western society, because it's not only to have a body that isn't sick, it also includes bliss, it includes meaning, it includes many other things that may seem unrelated to health as we think of it. So it's more so a fuller description of what health is and what Ayurveda aim to help someone with. Yeah. And as I said, in the massage, there are different kinds of massages and massage therapies of sorts. And for example, also sweat therapy is one of those. And well, I won't touch on to all kinds of things, but when it comes to Ayurveda, ghee is sometimes also used, which is clarified butter, but that's the only animal fat that is used. Many times it's cocoa, sesame oil, cocoa, olive oil. What is it? Not cocoa oil. What is it called? Like cocos? No, I don't know what it's called in English actually. But various oils that also influence the doshas differently, as well as it can be there can be different herbs and so on, essential oils and so on in various oils that also influence particular parts of the body or mind in certain ways or so on. And so Ayurveda includes also the spiritual side. So meditation, as I said, yoga also can be a part of it, but it's also about enlightenment, to become more aware, maybe about previous lives or psychic abilities, or more like clear-sighted and so on. And so meditation is sometimes I think it's more in Ayurveda. I think oftentimes it's breathing exercises that is recommended, at least at first, to balance the doshas, but maybe not always. But I think that is something that's very common. But there are very many variations of meditations, of course, that suits different kinds of situations. But also, you can develop telepathy. For example, there is only one person that I have telepathic connection to sometimes, and he is also my personal trainer. I don't listen to that a lot, but a little bit. He's so caring and sweet. Anyways, we can look in each other's eyes and understand what we say we can talk about something else and see what something else, that we talk about something else with our eyes. Sometimes that's fascinating. And I read that sometimes that why people don't use telepathy. This was like some meme. There were like extraterrestrials, like aliens, coming down and asking why do humans don't use telepathy instead. And it's like they have so much to hide from each other. And I do think there is something in it, although that was kind of a joke. But I think that's why we can see each other, because we have nothing to hide. And that's beautiful. And more people probably should, we all, humanity, maybe should need that. So anyway, Vata is movement. That is like the starter. And sometimes a Vata personality may have a tendency to want to start a lot of things and maybe not as inclined to finish everything. So anyways, so according to Ayurveda, we humans are made up of a mixture of matter and antimatter, you could say. And there is a constant interaction between these two, and nothing functions in isolation. So everything is connected, and therefore also, and someone who works with Ayurveda take these things in account, even the way more subtle things. Although we work with a physical body and these physical things like what do you eat or how do you sleep and stuff. Yeah. And also I think about these things. I mean, oftentimes when I hear about these ADHD or different kinds of labels like that, or diagnosis or so, I also very, very much see the dosha. What they describe is many times vata imbalance. That can be caused by many other things. But then also how that could actually balance that. It maybe not medication. Maybe I'm not saying that always is a bad thing, but maybe you could balance it in a way that is in a more natural way. Let's say if people knew more about Ayurveda, and even in schools and everywhere, it could be so used actually. So the dosha itself determines the body type and temperament. So yeah, and maybe I should say that also, that I mean, I said that it changes according to the seasons what is needed. That is kind of given, like, but we don't think about that always because we are so detached from nature itself. But anyway, so it's rather also the weather and the temperament. No, not the temperament, the temperature. It could be in the same season that changes, and then we are also influenced by that our doshas and what we need. Then, of course. So yeah. Well, that was that. Do you have any? Are you still here? No, you left. I understand you. But yeah, that was a little bit about Ayurveda. Brief, brief and random. And about the chakras, yeah, many things. I do work with this, and then the medicine or the shamanic teachings from the Andes, the Munaki, and the medicine wheel, and so, and those initiations. I also work with Wicca. I also work with, what else do I even do? Certain ways of healing, and so on. And in, for example, everything that is described in these traditions is also described in the Andean shamanic tradition, but a little bit differently. For example, they call the chakras navis, which is meaning eyes, which I think is the most brilliant description of the chakras, because you can perceive, you can see through them. When you practice working with the chakras, you become more perceptive of them, let's say. So in those traditions, I guess in all traditions actually, but it's very much more about the experience rather than the mental understanding. But I've had a group now for almost a year that we are like that. Humans, we like to also understand the conceptualize and have words for things, and that is needed too. So it have been a lot of that too during this year with them. But the most important thing is the experience. Also, when it comes to the chakras, I could talk about that. I could describe them and so on. But it's about the experience of them. So if Noor was still here, I could like tune into her chakras and describe them. But she's gone, and I wouldn't do that without her consent or whomever Noor is. And I'm not saying this is the way you can do it all the time. For example, as I said, you can read the pulse in Ayurveda, or you do that if you're educated in it. And you read different layers of the pulse and different variations. And yeah, I won't go into that, but usually that is what you should do, and I always do that also when I do Ayurveda. You actually have your physical fingers on the pulse of someone, but you also read a lot of other things with the physical, like tongue, eyes, skin, nails, all kinds of things. But anyway, so when I went to this Ayurvedic training, I could sense the pulse, and I still can do that oftentimes. Sometimes when I do mediumship readings, but also when I speak to someone in the phone or so on, I can feel this information, let's say, through my fingers, even if I'm not touching them. So not everyone, from the beginning at least, can tune into someone's chakras at a distance like that as I can. But with some training, I think everyone can. It's not difficult. It's everything, I guess. But that's cocky to say. But everything, in some way or another, is about our limited perception of what is possible, our own idea of how the world is and what is possible. I mean, look at sports, for example. Someone can jump, or a lot of people can jump to a certain height, let's say, or length, whatever it is, and then suddenly someone break that what they thought about as the limit, sort of, and then everyone suddenly can jump higher than that. So it's in the mind, and that is the case for most things we do. But I think this was not the best way to describe Ayurveda because I went all over. I tried to have some sort of focus, but yeah, as I said, you could go far. You could go so extremely deep into everything, but I wanted to just touch it a little bit because I almost never do. I have an Ayurvedic page also, Ayurveda page on Facebook, but I put links to others that I have listened to that I think say things that are correct or that I've also learned how it is, and so but yeah, I love to work with this, and also I will have access to be able to do certain forms of therapy, Ayurveda therapy, outside of my own home now, and that to come, and that would change things as well. So I can do this a little bit more, which I love. I absolutely love it. So, but I can't do it a lot because I'm so much of a vata, so my joints are overly bendy. Let's say they're very soft. So if I would do like tough massages, that would be hurtful for my body. Yeah. I wonder if there is something else I would say, but I think I won't go deeper in that. But I could. But when it comes to the chakras, it would be probably easier if I just explained it practically. I mean, yeah. The experience of it would be greater than the just some sort of description from the outside about them. You can describe them also a lot. They have links to certain hormones, certain organs. There is so much about them, so you can talk about them all day almost also. But the most important thing is what they do, how you can use your information about them, let's say, and how the flow of the chakras is especially for you, a specific person, let's say. Yeah, because you can easily feel where there is something blocking and so on, and what is needed to make those energies flow, and that then in itself will it's life energy, so that will bring more vitality and joy and all kinds of good things. More life, yeah, to life. Well, there is no one else in here, so I will stop then because I probably drift into some other area otherwise, because I have a lot of vata, which is very enthusiastic and very like inspired energy. So I'm happy I have this Vata, but sometimes it's not easy to follow. It's not like if a pizza person would have described these things, it would have been like very easily understood, and it would go from A to B like in a straight line, like, and so on. Yeah. And the kapha would take it way slower. But I think my voice, it's quite oftentimes, if it's not too fast, it's quite soft and slow, like in a way. So I think both of my energies can be heard in my voice. A voice is one of the things that we also read when it comes to doing a full health check on someone. It's one of the things. Well, I don't know. Maybe I should talk about something else. About what then? Maybe I shouldn't change topic. I thought about putting this up on my mediumship page, also this sort of pod. Yeah. But aside from the universal consciousness, it's Vata who set everything in motion. And Vata does that. Yeah. So, but yeah. And these have helped not only, I mean, I haven't had what is it called now? Like an official practice with Ayurveda also, and also I do work mostly as a medium and do other things, and sometimes with the cards and so on. But it have benefited so many around me in both emotional or so on. People that have been deep in sorrow or sadness that have been helped by some herbal and oils and so on, massages, and so that have changed instantly from having from having going in that heaviness for years and not found a way to get, I mean, to just get out of it. And those methods that are so, it was things that this person, for example, that I think of now, who took it themselves, didn't even come to oil massages or so on by someone else, but it was like, yeah, and it changed just after a very, very short, some days, and since then it have been better, way better. I mean, it have not been as like this deep sorrow or depression, you could maybe call it, lifted. And I wish so many others could have access to this, because it's so helpful and so easy and cheap as well. So, and I understand also the skepticism about that it's not scientifically proven certain things, but more and more so. And in the US, they have also in the when you train or you go to education to become a doctor, or yeah, then you also, it includes Ayurveda in the education somewhat, and also certain things that Ayurveda said for a long time. It's 5,000 years old. So that is gradually proven by science also, way long after. The more fine-tuned the instruments that the instruments of science is, the more things also can be proven. But experience and also the intuition and then the knowledge from our own inner knowing, we all have it, you know. So yeah. What else? For example, I did a thing. I was just going to talk about that a practice. I mean, this is now I drift. Yeah, I do. But and the other yesterday, actually, I should do a practice with some people that I have this medicine with, and I was going to show them a practice you could do, and where you actually tune into someone else, but not as a medium, but rather to be able to see someone else's perspective better. And so I did this, and before I did that with them, I quickly did a little bit by myself. And I did, wow, I shouldn't have done that, because the one I tuned into have this pain in their shoulder, and that stuck with me afterwards. Wow. Yeah. So, but from the outside, I understand those that are skeptical. I even have been. Someone was even mad at me for. I think I recommended my page to someone in the beginning when I started that Ayurveda page on Facebook, and someone uh, got really mad and said it was um, what was it, like, like charlatans. Yeah, I think that was the word that person used, even as if you um, fool needy people to kind of gain money, which is very much the opposite. And also it's very much what the medical companies does, though. So yeah, but anyways, I understand the skepticism until you have experienced the benefit, what do you say, the benefits, yeah, of it. Yeah. So yeah, but it should be really good for humanity to learn more about this, and also to question it, of course, but to not just shut it uh, down before even having a clue about whether it works or not. I would never have survived without Ayurveda. That's something that came in my way. It didn't just randomly come in my way. I think this was part of me beforehand. I was always drawn to India and all these things previously, but I hadn't heard about Ayurveda. And yeah, I got very sick, and that was the only thing. Also, someone who did a nature therapist who did um, muscle testing, kinesiology, I think you say in English, even uh, testing everything that I reacted to, because I could hardly eat anything, or I reacted allergically to like everything. I couldn't be around pets. I couldn't be around mold. I couldn't. In the cellar where I lived for some time, I had to run there, just throw in the clothes that I would wash. I couldn't breathe if I walked close to the woods, because there was something in there that affected my breathing. So I it was, and everything almost that you could eat, I had various bad reactions to. But gradually and slowly through Ayurveda, I got well. So, um, and also because she could, this woman that I went to could test how much and what things that I could eat, and so I did for several years. I varied every third day, I think it was, because you to not trigger these reactions. I just ate those things that were related in nature, those plants and so on, that were related to each other one day, and then I waited three, so it becomes every third day I came in contact with the same again, like in tiny amounts and so on. And then gradually I got well. Yeah. So yeah. But it sounds, I get it. I guess it sounds very almost maybe mysterious, like made up, just. But the exactness of it, and the efficiency and the lack of bad reactions to it. I mean, you don't get any side effects as you get from some medicines and so on. All these things together, you would experience it if you tried it. It's not random. It's not like you guess and just do whatever. It really is tested for thousands and thousands of years. So this is not like sudden, impulsive, I don't know, ideas. Yeah. And there are different schools also, I should maybe mention, in Ayurveda that have a little bit slightly different ways of viewing things, but the base lines of it, the basic things, they are similar. Yeah, and also when it comes to yoga, there is this medicinal yoga is it called? That is actually the practices is stem from Kundalini yoga very much, but that is actually also tested. That is have been like in scientific experiments, you could say, probably, to see that it actually do have health effects and so on certain whatever things. So it is proven scientifically, many of these things, maybe almost all of these things nowadays, but not everyone knows it still, because who pays for certain science or to get it out to the public may not benefit from it. You know, I mean, the companies may not get paid. The more people knew about these kinds of things, we could balance things very much ourselves. So that would be bad for them. Yeah. So, and there is so much more to Ayurveda. I just touched a few things, and they were maybe more so also touching on to yoga, but that is, as I said, a part of Ayurveda anyway. So, yeah. Maybe I get back to this. I thought I would change it up a bit and make a tiny video about this. And also because I may have access to do these marma treatments and chakra flow massage and so on more so, and I look forward to doing that to come. And my cat, she's so cute. She got fish today. She haven't gotten that for a while. Wow, so pleased. I cooked some fish for her. She's the happiest cat right now. Anyway, yeah, that is a Vata thing, randomly, just suddenly saying things like that. But I just look at her, she's so sweet. And she guards her fish. She haven't been eaten all of it yet, but she must lay close so she see that I don't suddenly eat it. Now she comes so I can touch her ear with my foot. Oh, babe. Anyway, so yeah. I thought I may have given you maybe more questions, and hopefully I love to get questions. Feel free to ask them, whatever they are. But this is one of the things that I do that I love. And also, to me, there is not so much difference from other things that I've learned. I mean, words oftentimes is the biggest difference. So I feel like these things, so they match so perfectly together. For example, these shamanic things that I work with and everything, it just it becomes even more clear. Yeah. Hey, someone comes in right now. I've talked about Ayurveda here for some hour, but now I was going to go. But if you want to ask a question to the cards, I can stay a bit and pull some cards. And now that person left again, but maybe they come in again. I don't know. And if it's newer again, or anyone else who wants me to tune into their chakras, I can do that and tell you what I feel or what I see about you. But be prepared that I may reveal certain things about you then. Yeah. So that was it for now. And I myself, as a very not ethereal, but I'm very much so disconnected sometimes from the earth plane. Let's say I'm so much in space. So yeah, I could very much need to. I mean, I could benefit myself from doing those practical, physical touch. I mean, hands-on things to ground myself. Even that wouldn't be bad. That's not my main interest, but I love to do it. When I learned Marma treatment, I just felt that I could do this all day, every day, forever. I mean, I just love to do it so much. It's fantastic. The chakra flow massage is a little bit more intense, but I absolutely love that too. So, yeah, and those even tougher ones that my fingers won't do those. But yeah. Anyways, yeah, I just wanted to share a little bit about that. Take care, everyone, and I will just end now then, as I said some time ago. Yeah. Feel free to ask, comment, or yeah. Even if you disagree, that's fine. I can learn something too. Not much though. Yeah, I could. Okay. Bye for now.